So today I want to talk to you about a boring technique that has made $1 million a year for the last 22 years for the businesses that I've grown and scaled. It's boring, it's repetitive, but it absolutely works. So the thing that you've got to keep in mind is that there is this fun part of business where you're figuring out what works, and then there's this part of business where you're just doing what works. You're actually repeating the things that work. And you've got to embrace a bit of boredom, because when you figure out what works, you've got to repeat what works. I'm sure that Roger Federer got a little bit sick of playing tennis, and I'm sure that the Foo Fighters have been a little bit sick of playing the same Foo Fighter songs 3 times a week, every week for the last 20 years. But they know what the crowd wants and they play to the crowd. And he knows what wins tennis matches and he plays the shots that win. So I see a lot of businesses that just fail to repeat what works. And today I want to share with you something that has worked for me over and over and over and over and over again. And it just works, and it brings in $1 million a year, at least, many times that in some cases. And we're going to go through it step by step. So what I'm talking about is called an intro presentation, an introduction presentation. So this is a presentation that introduces people to your business and your world. So I first discovered this as a customer. I was a teenager and I was flicking through the newspaper and I saw an ad that said an introduction to financial planning. And I thought, hey, I'm making $3.25 an hour at McDonald's, time to get a financial planner. So I went along to the introduction event. And I sat around a boardroom table, and the guy who was the financial planner, so he took us through a 60-minute presentation about all the things that you need to know about financial planning, why you would have a financial planner, what are the key benefits and drawbacks to avoid, right? He went through all of this in an introduction presentation, and at the end, he invited people to become clients of his financial planning firm. I later discovered that he had been doing that same introduction presentation for 10 years in a row, every single Wednesday night, and he eventually sold his business for over $30 million in Australia. So I was kind of inspired by the fact that this introduction presentation was a cornerstone strategy for him. So what we do with an introduction presentation is we structure a 45-minute to 90-minute presentation where we cover all of that basic information that people want to know before they make a purchasing decision. And we put it into a presentation and we just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Most businesses that I work with, they either do it every 2 weeks or some businesses do it every week. But essentially, it's an introduction presentation that you can just do on autopilot. Once you get good at it, once you've learnt the script, you just do it over and over and over again, right? So it's very, very powerful. You get it right once, and then you just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Oh, by the way, if you're enjoying this video, you might want to see my introduction workshop, because I'm going to be running an introduction workshop in the week ahead. So why don't you click the link that's in the description, jump on my introduction workshop and have a look. By the way, newsflash, it won't be the first time I've done it, and it won't be the last time I've done it. It'll be a workshop that I've done many times. For me, it will be repetitive. For you, I think you might enjoy it. So you've probably got some key questions. What goes into a presentation? How do you fill the presentation? How do you follow up and make sales after a presentation? Let's go through all of that. So what goes into an introduction workshop? So here's some of the key things that go into an intro workshop. The first thing you want to do is talk about clearly, what are we going to cover and why should I listen to you, right? That's the most important thing that people want to know when they join an introduction workshop. The next thing that they want to learn about is, what does success look like? So start by talking about that. Start by talking about what is the ultimate result. What does it look like on the other side of getting all the things right? Give them a roadmap and tell them, where does this roadmap end? What is the end point that you want to get to? And really sell that. Make people feel excited towards getting to that. Then zoom back to where they are today and talk about all the things that could go wrong. What are the problems? What are the frustrations? What are the things that commonly derail people? And go through all of that information. Then make sure people know that all of that stuff is solvable. Introduce people to a method or a process or best practices that help to solve for all of those things that could go wrong. Finally, give people a big call to action. Tell them what you want to do next. Why should they sign up and be a customer with you? What are the objections that people typically have to working with someone like yourself? And then what would you say to those objections, right? Cover all of that information in 45, 60, or 90 minutes, put that into a presentation, and then just get it into some slides, rehearse it, learn the lines, and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So I'll tell you a story. In 2004, 2005, we scaled up from about $1 million a year of sales to $10.7 million a year in sales, all in 1 year. It was very, very fast growth. And how did that happen? What we did is we got the introduction presentation refined. We got it really, really nicely done. We put it into slides. We got it into a repeatable format. We got the marketing and all of that sort of stuff perfect. And the presentation was what you'd call canned. It was just a ready to go presentation. presentation. And then what we did is over the following 12 months, we repeated it 174 times. And that was just unbelievable year where we did 174 introduction presentations, like 3 or 4 a week, every single week for 52 weeks of the year. And we just went boom, 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 boom. And by the end of the year, we'd massively scaled up the business. And all we'd done is we'd just run that introduction presentation over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it was the same jokes, and it was the same presentation, and it was the same information. I got so sick of my voice. I got so sick of hearing the same presentation over and over, but it just kept working and working and working and working. And you know what? That's success. Success is a little bit of boredom. Look at any major successful artist, any major successful business. They do what works every single day. They do it over and over again. So what we did is we just repeated it and repeated it and repeated it, and we massively scaled up that business. Okay, so the next question you may have is, how do we fill this introduction event? How do we get people to turn up? So here's a little rhythm that I recommend, which is if you run the introduction presentation every second week, what you do is in week 1, you focus on filling the introduction workshop for the following week. Week 2, you deliver an introduction workshop and then follow up and talk to the people who want to buy from you. All right, so week 1 is filling the workshop. Week 2 is delivering the workshop and following up and making sales. And then you just repeat that cycle. Boom, 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 boom. So what are you doing in week 1? Well, you could be doing cold DMs. There's a whole video that I've made on how to reach out to people and do cold DMs, and I'll link to it in the description. You could run some ads, right? So if you know what's working, you could ramp it up with some advertising. I love running ads to a workshop that performs. You could do some joint ventures or affiliate promotions where affiliates and joint venture partners promote your introduction workshop. You could do some content marketing where all of the content that you put out links back to the introduction workshop. You could use a scorecard where people fill in the scorecard, and then at the end of the scorecard, they get invited to the introduction workshop. So essentially, there's all of these different ways that you can use. There's at least a dozen ways that you could use to fill the introduction workshop. Then the following week, you deliver it, and then you follow up and make sales. So let's talk about that follow-up process. Following up and making sales. At the end of your introduction workshop, you're going to invite people to express that they're interested in working with you. They may want to have a one-to-one, or they may just go straight to a link and fill in their application. They might fill in the sales form, or they might fill in a form that says they want to have a one-to-one conversation with a salesperson, depending on what it is that you sell. If you sell something that's tens of thousands of dollars or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars, the introduction workshop isn't going to close the sale. It's just going to make people want to have a one-to-one meeting and talk about it further. If you're selling something that is a few $100s to a few $1,000s, people might just go ahead and buy it straight away off the back of the introduction workshop. Sometimes you can give people 2 options. You can say, if you know that you want to work with us, you know you want to buy, here's the link to do that. And if you've still got questions and you want to have a one-to-one, here's the link to do that. So you could give people both options. When you do meet people one-to-one, you want to have a nice presentation that follows on from that. Now, the introduction presentation is about you and about what happens and about the results that people can get. The follow-on presentation has to be all about them. You've got to ask lots of questions. You've got to understand their situation, understand their world. You've got to share with them unique insights that are perfect for them. And ultimately, you've got to give them a good, clear reason why they're ready to go ahead and work with you. Or not. Maybe you want to disqualify them and say it's not a good fit, but you need to be able to have a good way of handling that follow-up presentation. Given the fact that people have already invested an hour of their time to learn about you, now it's time for you to invest an hour of your time to learn about them. And that's in that sort of one-to-one sales environment. So it all runs really nicely and smoothly. You've got 1 week to fill an introduction event. Could be 10 people, 20 people that you get booked in. Then you've got a week to deliver the workshop and follow up and make sales with the people who attended. So it's a really, really powerful little rhythm. I have worked on this with so many different businesses, and it's been everything from franchises through to consulting, through to financial services and software, and even a bedding company, a latex mattress company that had a specialty mattress. We did introduction presentations for all sorts of stuff over the last 22 years, and every single time it's been a cornerstone strategy for making sales and scaling up. It's a little bit boring, it's a little bit repetitive, but oh my goodness, does it work? I would love to see you trying an introduction presentation for your business. Give me a comment below. Are you gonna try this? Are you gonna give it a go? What would stop you? What do you need to know? What didn't I cover in this video? Let me know in the comments below, and I might be able to make another video in the future. If you're getting value from these videos, give it a like and a subscribe, and I look forward to sharing even more with you on the channel.